Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of Straight Up Show Podcast. I am your host, Calvin. Hey, if you have listened to this show, you know that I don't watch much TV because a lot of stuff on TV is it's not good like it used to be. And you know, my go-to is Martin. Like, you can't go wrong with Martin, but and just as our guest for today. But talking about like TV shows, a lot of comedy. It's really hard to find comedy that is so good nowadays. And then about 2 years ago, I ran across a comedy on Comedy Central, which is called Southside, and it was just different, very different. And so this show has been growing legs. It's been going great. It's a funny show. And I've talked about this show. We've had Diallo on the show. We've had Edward Williams III on the show. And today we have the star of the show, Southside, Mr. Sultan Salahuddin. Sir, thank you so much for coming on the Straight Up Show Podcast.
It's an honor to be on the Straight Up Show Podcast. I like your work. I like what you guys are doing. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Man, so like I had to have you on the show, man, because like, you know, you're a writer, creator, man, you've done so much. And like, I'm just not really obsessed with the show. It's just that damn good. It is that damn good. But before we get into all that right now, who is Sultan Salahuddin?
Oh, that's a very good question. I'm a man of many talent. I'm just a dude from the South Side of Chicago who's passionate about comedy, who's passionate about making people laugh, who's passionate about good stories. And it's really important to me to shine a light on the South Side of Chicago and Chicago in general. That's not what you see in the mass media. There are some wonderfully talented, loving, funny people on the South Side. I'm one of them. And it's important to bring that message across to the world that, hey, we're here to be funny and we're here to have a good time.
Yes, sir. And like I said, man, you are from the South Side of Chicago.
Indeed.
And like y'all bring the authenticity. That's a word I can't really pronounce all the time. Authenticity. There we go. But y'all bring the authenticity so much to South Side Chicago. It really made me feel like, you know, that I'm part of the show. So you came from South Side Chicago, and ironically enough, I come from Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay,
and they are Shreveport.
Y'all from Shreveport.
Man, but
let me tell you how I know how to say that.
Right.
From the Disney movie Princess Frog?
Yeah, Princess
Remember when
Frog.
the crocodile was like, y'all from Shreveport? I was like, oh, and I know that because I used to be down in Louisiana.
Yeah.
I love Louisiana. Actually, it's pronounced Louisiana. It's not pronounced Louisiana. It's Louisiana.
Louisiana. Yeah, babe. You know, so
yeah, man. That's exactly how they do it. Yeah, I love it.
But the thing is that when Shreveport, you know, there's so much violence going on, especially right now. They have been dubbing Shreveport Chicago #2.
Really?
And so it's kind of like something we always kind of like heard about. And so with that being said, you know, you and I have the kind of same upbringing. It's kind of hard to come out of those kind of situations, especially coming from the South Side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, so with you being, you know, where you are right now, like, you know, how did you get started into comedy and into like writing and stuff like that? How did you get into all that?
Well, that's a very interesting tale. First of all, I want to give a shout out to my mom and my dad, man. I think that's really important. A lot of people don't realize that my parents were very supportive from a very young age. And in particularly, my mom was the joke teller and my dad was the laugher. So she would say something, he would laugh, and I would like, get it. I was like, okay, timing, I would understand. But on top of that, my mom was an awesome storyteller. Shout out to Renee Salahuddin. I love her to death. Capricorn. Anyway, most people don't know this. When I was a kid, I would say when I was like 5, 6, 7, she used to come in the room at night and tell me stories. And she wouldn't read them out of a book. She would make them up out of her head. And I specifically remember this one moment when she came in there with a book. And I was like, no, mommy, don't tell me out of a book. Tell me out of your head. And those stories were so riveting, so colorful, and so funny that I held on to that. I take that with me in the writing room. Now, you take that to the fact that, you know, I was a class clown. I was a popular guy in school. I've always been funny. I've always been comedic, especially with my brothers and my sisters and my mom and my dad. Like, our household was a dojo of comedy. And from there, I did stand-up comedy. From the stand-up comedy, I was like, I got the confidence and the booster from doing stand-up. And I was like, man, if I can write jokes, I can go back to my English class where I did really well in. And I was like, maybe I can write stories. And shout out to my brother Sasha. He encouraged me. He was like, yo, Sue, write that up, work on that, keep finesse that, work on it. And then with his encouragement and that of many other people, I transitioned from stand-up comedy and transitioned into story writing with comedy. He, myself, and Diallo Riddle, which is his writing partner, all three of us got together and wrote a pilot, and Comedy Central loved it, and the rest is history. We're here doing season 2 now. So that's kind of how that started happening. But the one element that I can remember was the confidence and the belief in self from the support of my mom, my brother, my friends, even the twins. You know the twins on the show, Corinne and Quincy?
Yeah,
yo, those are my really good friends. I went to high school with them. Shout out to them, man. Like they would tell me when a joke was good, when a joke was whack, when anything. And so long story short is when you have, and even my little sister Zuri, she plays Stacy on the show.
Yeah.
My brother Ismail, he directed one of the episodes this past season. Mm-hmm. My sister Roger, she played it. Like I have all these funny people around me. Mm-hmm. And as a result, and my brother Mikael, most people haven't seen him. He's like super talented with his voice and super talented with his timing. So at the end of the day, I had like a group of very funny people around me that allowed me to bounce jokes and practice things. I was able to hone my craft at home, at school, on a CTA, in the subway, whatever. Kind of like Bernie Mac did. I don't know if you know the story of Bernie Mac, but people don't know this. May he rest in peace, one of my favorite comedians of all time. He used to ride the L and tell jokes to strangers for hours.
I didn't know that.
That's how he got, dude. He did that for hours before he went downtown Chicago and joined up with a club and had his own show. When you met him, he had already had like 11, 12 years in the game. Wow. So that's kind of how we do it in Chicago, man. It's about the hustlers mentality. You got kids on the L train, on the bus, on the corners, the bucket boys, the whole nine. Our mentality is like, there's something better if we keep working harder for it. And so I was able to hone my craft through that. And I also went to ECB. I did acting classes. I did, what is that called? Improv. You know what I mean? So all of those elements helped me get to the point where I am right now. In addition to that, I put the time in, man. I read the books. I watched the lectures. I did the writing. I put the work in, and that's how we get to where we are right now. And I have to give a shout out to all of the writers on Southside. I mean, dude, that is a talented group of people in that room, and I'm always honored to be among them.
Wow, and y'all, I would say y'all definitely have a great formula going right now. And then
thank you.
You putting the family in it too, so that's definitely that builds not only comedy but the trust too. That hey,
absolutely,
we're here for a reason. We got to make a mark, and hey, we got to do this together. So I like
I'll give you a heads up. This is a sneak peek for season 2. My mom's in season 2.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you'll see her.
Okay.
She plays a school teacher, and we actually are in a scene together. So just a little something for all y'all out there. When you see that scene where I'm there with a school teacher, that's my mom's.
Okay.
Shout out to Big Nay, love Renee. That's my mommy, yo. I'm a mama's boy. I ain't gonna front. I don't care what anybody say. She is the guiding light for me.
I am too, man. I'm like, look, Mom, what you doing for Thanksgiving? What you
exactly.
got?
What we cooking again?
Like,
and you better not say you're not making them biscuits, because it's gonna be a problem.
Was it gonna be yams, the poor man's caviar? Yeah.
Poor man's caviar. Look at him. Shout out the show. I love it. Absolutely.
I'm telling you, man. I love the show, man. And Sultan, Sultan, with you, it's like, man, to see you perform and to see you act, man, like it is, to me, it's very organic, but it's it's something in comedy that I haven't seen in a long time, because you got the heavyweights, man. I think about you is that you're witty and you're quick, and I want to ask you more about your comedy in the Southside on the other side of the break. Make sure you stay tuned. This is the Straight Up Sugar Podcast with our special guest today from Southside, Mr. Sultan Salahuddin.
Bring your ass back. That's really what you want to say.
Straight up means to be able to speak in a way that is straight up, to be honest, and to speak your truth.
Raw, uncut, you know what I mean? It's blunt, you know, straight to the point. This what it is.
It's just a place to be open and honest, and that's what I appreciate most about it. And it provides a place for community members to come together and just be straight up with each other about things that are going on in the world, because it affects all of us.
Unfiltered, raw, with all the cursing that Calvin does.
Straight up is just being real, telling it like it is, you know, being you.
Being solid, being who you are, no matter what it is, no matter what situation you're faced with. All right, this is who you are. It really speaks to me, saying it is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. Straight up.
Hey, Calvin here, host of the Straight Up Show podcast. And guess what? We're back bigger and better than ever with new guests, new straight up topics, and a new way to support the Straight Up Show podcast. That's right. You can now support our podcast by becoming a Patreon patron. Straight Up has 4 different tiers that you can choose from, with each tier having their own perks. Your monthly donation helps us produce efficient Straight Up content that you love so much. For more details, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/Straight Up Show Podcast 318. That's patreon.com/Straight Up Show Podcast 318.
Put the work on the Southside. Whole family from the Southside. Can't wait to go outside.
All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show podcast. Today we have a special guest, the talented writer, co-creator, the the star of the show, Mr. Sultan Salahuddin. Thank you so much for coming on. Did I get it right this time? Did I get it?
First of all, you get an A+ for the pronunciation of my name, which most people don't. So I'm already in love with your show. Straight up, the straight up show. You got to straight up give them props, because they're hooked on phonics.
There we go. I try to be, man. I try to, I got that public education,
And that public.
But anyway, so we have you today, and I want to thank you so much for being on our show today. So, and he is. If you haven't watched Southside, you really need to, because it's the type of comedy and all that that's on TV right now that you really haven't seen in a long time. Me, like I said, it's hard for me. And when us black folks, when we laugh, we want to go out the room, do something.
Hey, pause that, rewind that, dog. Pause that, rewind. Oh my God, did they just do? I got you. I'm with you.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it is. It's like me, like I'm not saying I'm sour, but sometimes like some comedy is just it doesn't get me. But I feel like when I watch Southside, it really gets me, and I feel like I'm in that. I can relate to that. And like, man, it makes me want to run out the room, laugh, and like I'm laughing so hard that I'm crying. Like, especially with the Jordan episode. The Jordan, man, that was just, man, that was brilliant. That was done. And
shout out to Langston Kermit. He wrote that episode. Very talented comedian and actor. He's actually on Insecure too. And shout out to Insecure. Like, it's a really good show. But yeah, man, like he tapped into that. He's like, I want to write an episode about the Jordans. And you say that. Next time I talk to him, I'll be like, Langston, every time I'm in an interview, they talk about how much they love your show, and I'm jealous they don't talk about my episode, but whatever.
And then Langston is Adam Bethune, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Somebody knows. Okay, somebody did their research. Yeah, he's talented, dude. He's funny as hell.
All right, so we're talking about this show, Southside. Season 2 is out right now. Make sure you go to HBO Max. Watch it right now. I know right now I kind of got the first glimpse. I can't tell you about it, but if you listen to this episode right now, it's out right now. So get your ass out and watch this stuff, because you will do it. You know what? Go ahead and start at season 1 and binge watch it all the way through, and let's go for it.
Absolutely.
Because it's that good. But so we have the star here, but if people who don't know about Southside, you kind of touched on it already. Just give us the premise of Southside and your characters. Kind of like, what's the Southside all about?
Okay, in a nutshell, Southside is about 2 dudes from the South Side of Chicago. Let me start over. It's about a guy from the South Side of Chicago who has the mentality and the genius of Warren Buffett, but based on his circumstances and the decisions that he's made, he doesn't have the resources or opportunity. And it's about 2 guys who work at Rent-A-Center. Now, if you're from the Midwest or a certain part, everybody doesn't know where Rent-A-Center is, but I'm using Rent-A-Center as a metaphor. I'm not saying it's about them, because Rent-A-Center is a good business. I'm sure they make a
Right.
lot of money and they teach their customers well. I have nothing wrong with them. But it's based on that premise that people work, a couple of guys who work at that store, and they have to go out and, you know, get things from people in the community that use their services. So it's about two dudes from the south side of Chicago who have the hustlers mentality, but have to work a day job, got baby mamas, babies and stuff, and graduated community college and think they have the world and able to put it in their pocket and move forward. And that's really what it's about. They take you on an adventure that goes all throughout Chicagoland, and it lets you know some of the insides of Chicagoland as well as some of the comedic perspectives of Chicagoans.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great way for a TV show. And like I said, there are some shows that do like Atlanta kind of do the same thing too. And I think that, you know,
good show, by the way.
Yeah, very good show.
Yeah.
I think that y'all, because they're so involved, like Childish Gambino, also from Atlanta, so you kind of get the authentic. But with y'all, like I'm picking up things about Chicago where I've never been at before. I've never been to Chicago ever.
Yeah.
But,
okay.
But my thing is that I'm hearing you because I watched this. Let me tell you, my family has watched this. Shout out my mom, Latricia.
Hey, Latricia. Hey, boo. Hey.
but they seriously would have Southside playing on every day, like on repeat, just all the way through.
Let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. You're right. I know of 5 barbershops in Chicago. That's all they play is Southside. Yeah. They don't put sports on. Well, unless it's the Bulls, the Sox, the Cubs, the Blackhawks. But they play Southside nonstop.
Yes.
That's it. So I feel that.
And that's why I'm able to like reciprocate so much of the show, because I can tell you what line this is. And like your brother Bashir, man, like that, man, just very talented, you know. Guy, He got a movie coming up with Tom Cruise, you know, and Tom. So I'm like, you know, so I'm like, man, y'all doing it real big. But with this show, what really made me hook on to it is like, you know, I'm a black man trying to hustle too. Like, you know, even though I got my primary job, you know, I'm doing really good at it. But I'm like, man, you got to keep going, you know, and I relate to that. What really got me was, and I don't know if you wrote this or whoever wrote it, but episode 1, it just grabs you already. When you kind of, you know, I was there in college where I had to get a job out of college, and then I was at this big time, you know, cable company, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I think what really stands out is that you are a black man on the show who takes care of his kids, and you love taking care of your kids, and you support your kids. And then the thing about it is that pride part where you lost your job, and then you have to go back to your other job where you just quit. And just the imagery of you holding your head down and you say, hey, asking for my job, that got to me. So I'm like, dang, man, this is what black representation does not show in regular Hollywood. Right. Because you don't see that kind of stuff. Like, well, he is a black man. You know, he's not married to the mom, but he's actually taking care of his kids. He lost his job, and he's swallowing his pride because he knows he has to take care of his kids. Like, man, that right there.
Thank you. Hey, let me tell you something in the DNA of my character. One of the things that we talked about in the writing room is like we wanted to have a reflection on some of the realities in the struggle as well as the culture. And one of those things that there are a lot of brothers out here who have multiple babies by multiple women. That's a fact. That's what Maury Povich shows you all day long. But what it doesn't show you is that these men still love their children, have decent relationships with these mothers, and they work hard to take care of these seeds that they created. And they're honorable in that way. They own up and they're accountable for what they do. And that's important because I have many friends who have babies by different women. And when I talk to them, when I work with them, when I holler at them, they about their shorties. They love their kids. They love making sure they sacrifice and make sure that their kids are taken care of. And that's one thing that you do not ever hear about, especially on the south side of Chicago. So for me, it was important to highlight that aspect of the character because we're not one-dimensional. We don't just, have baby mamas and don't give a am I able to cuss them here?
Straight up, man. No, you call straight up, so you do whatever you want.
I'm just asking. I don't want to, but that's the reality behind it. Is like in real life, cats care. We do care. We do give a damn. Now, we may not be whole in other senses, but when it comes to the kids, when it comes to the babies, when it comes to their birthday parties, when it comes to all the holidays and stuff, we put in that extra time, we put in that extra energy to make sure that the kids have a better experience or the best that we can provide at the time.
Man, it is. That's why I think that you and your family, y'all were able to think outside the box in that aspect. And I think that
Thank
a lot
you.
of comedies don't do that. It's just cut and dry. Like,
Right.
and y'all, and like, I want to know right quick, how much improv is on that show? Like, how much is that y'all do improv?
There is okay, so let me say this. Myself, Kareem, Quincy, Chandra, and Bashir are very talented comedic actors. And there are, and with the help of Diallo Riddle as well as Michael Blyden, Bashir, and Michael, they actually used to write on Jimmy Fallon together. That's where they met.
Okay.
Those guys push us and allow us to use our creative talents to add to the show. So there's quite a bit of improv, but the improv does not happen without the base of what's written. And everything is written. The improv is an add-on. So there's quite a bit of improv, but what's written is and what the story is the priority. So I want to get that distinction out. A lot of people think, oh, y'all just made up. No. In the writing room, there is a structure, there's a format, and it's sexy there. We make it sexier as much as we can based on our individual talents. And they give us the leeway, which I really think is a huge formula for a comedy, so that you can get that authentic. And then there are things that are said that are only significant to Chicago.
Ooh,
that
I know that.
The actors as well as the writers are aware of. So yeah, there's some improv there, but it's what happened? Is there an earthquake? Is there an earthquake in Texas? No, I'm just kidding. There's some improv that happens, but it's based and around a structured writing format.
Okay. So, and one thing you said about it's just for Chicago people only. And one thing that me and my sister, like I said, we play it all day long, right? One thing we picked up was like, who is Joe? We're looking for. All right,
Joe? So there are certain things that are significant to Chicago. So it's not just for Chicago people. I want to get that out there. But Joe is like, it's a word that's like, what's happening, man? What's up, friend? What's up? It's like G.I. Joe. I'm ready to go, Joe. Let's go, Charlie. You know what I mean? Like, they're just names that you say. It's based on the average Joe.
Right.
So you take off average. What up, Joe? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
that's the same as me saying, what up, average Joe?
Okay.
I just take the average off. What up, Joe? What's going on, Charlie?
Okay.
Charlie is Charlie Hustle. So it's ingrained in our mentality.
I didn't get into after like maybe rewatching like the 15 times. Like, man, this is who is Joe. It's like I'm over here Googling who is Joe? Who is Joe? Like, all right, I get it now. Yeah. So
average Joe. For all those out there, when you hear Joe, if you just put the word average in front of it, that's Chicago. We just drop the average. I'll be like, nah, Joe.
Question right quick. So let me ask you, how is it working with family on the set? Like, like, is it just because, just to see, and people wouldn't think that this is your actual family on the set. Like, how's that chemistry? How does that play a factor into like when y'all doing scenes? Like, how to, like, who's making who laugh on purpose so they can mess their lines up, or, like y'all just, how does that chemistry work on set?
It's I gotta say that I don't have a lot of experiences on a lot of other sets in a way that I'm blessed to be working with family. And the one thing about it is, and I gotta give out a shot. And when I say family, it ain't just my biological siblings; it's all of the friends that are involved as well. Like, they're all fam. You know what I mean? And what it is we have one single thing in common: we want the best, funniest show possible. So with everybody coming with that mind state, there's no issue. It's all about what is the best. How do we make it the funniest? We all have the same goal, and the same goal is to be the funniest comedy from Southside Chicago ever. And so my experience is, even when there's things that could be challenging moments or times where I feel like maybe we could do this or this way, everybody humbles themselves. They're open, they listen, because creatively, you have some of the funniest minds around that are working on the same project. And if you, for 1 second, lose sight of that, then it becomes something else. And that's one thing that I can say through season 1 and season 2, that we've maintained the focus. So I'm spoiled. I'm not going to lie. We have great chemistry, and that's because we continuously keep focused the best possible show and the funniest possible show that we can produce. And it works.
And they have successfully done that. Like I said, once again, season 2 is out right now. We're going to have a little bit more with Sultan on the other side of the break. Make sure you stay tuned. This is Straight Up Show Podcast. See you on the side of the break. Straight Up Show!
Straight up, we know that all lives matter, but historical events have shown that there is an inverse power dynamic between the races in our country. To highlight this, we present our Black Lives Matter merchandise. Because let's be real, some of you don't seem to understand that this isn't the organization, but a message. That message, end inequality towards minorities in America. And just in case that's too complicated for you in English, we have the phrase translated into 10 different languages. Visit straightupshowpodcast.com for this and all our other merch. That's STR8 showpodcast.com. Shirts as low as $19.99.
All right, welcome back to the Straight Up Show Podcast. Today we have a special guest today, Southside star right now. His name is Sultan Salahuddin. Thank you, sir. I got it again. Thank you, sir, so much for coming on the show once again. Southside, season 2, out right now.
Yeah.
Now, getting back into it. So season 1 started off on Comedy Central, which is where I first saw you, but then they actually put news broke out that y'all were going to HBO Max, which, you know, shout out to HBO Max because they're getting a lot of black comedies to HBO Max. Like I said, Martin, my show, to watch Martin and not have Martin edited so heavily on BET. No shade, but it's like I know how, you know, advertising works and stuff like that. Right. So, but to see Martin now on full blast, I love that too. Same with your show. I can watch your show and not have to wait 2 minutes to see what K did or what Q did. Or, you know, like I can go back into it. But that transition from Comedy Central to HBO Max, like, do you think there's more eyes on y'all now, or like, you know, how do you think about that transition from HBO Max or Comedy Central to HBO Max?
What did Biggie Small say? I went from ashy to classy. No, I'm just what I'm gonna say is definitely you know, HBO has been around longer than Comedy Central. It's one of the they've been around since there were televisions in a house where you had a box on top of it. So they have their own world. So mathematically, yes, it's been a huge jump from the amount of eyeballs from Comedy Central to HBO Max, and we're talking about in the millions. Feeling the effect of that, I can say the Instagram is more active, Facebook is more active, any of the social medias are more active because HBO has provided us a platform that allows more eyes, more people to even be aware and see the show. So it's a huge step up in the right direction, and our audience is finding us. I'm getting messages from people I never even knew existed, celebrities included, who I'm not going to name their names right now, but they have hit me up on IG in the messages, in the DMs or whatever, and be like, yo, bro, love the show. Some of them be like, yo, can I be on that joint? And then I'll hit them back with a respectful message of how that works. But for the most part, we're definitely getting more publicity and more eyes on the show. And I would say exponentially more.
And I love it, man. I'm a rider, man. I ride for y'all show because, like,
hey, I love that. Thank you.
And I feel like, because I think people need to see this. Like, it's not. And let's say when COVID happened, I was just pushing it because I'm like, man, like if you're stuck at home and you're bored, you got to watch this show because it would give you that relief being stuck at home and you can laugh. I'm like, I said, man, and then to see your family just spread out, and you know, I saw you spread your wings. I said, wait a minute, I'm over here watching Blackish. I'm like, they can't be. And then what got was that I saw your eyes. I was like, man, that's definitely Sultan.
That's dude, yeah, that's that dude. Hey, man. Shout out to Anthony Anderson, man. Let me tell you a small, interesting story about that. When I was shooting Blackish, I didn't see Anthony. You know, obviously he's an executive producer behind the camera and all that. And I was like, and then COVID had just kicked in, so I had to get the test and do all that other stuff. So they was very separated. And as I was leaving the set to come home, I saw him, and I was like, hey, thanks for inviting me on the show, man. I appreciate the opportunity. He's like, no, I didn't do that. You got yourself here. And for me, that was one of the biggest shout outs ever. Like, he reminded me, like, hard work gets you where you want to be.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like shout out to Anthony Anderson, man. He's the truth. You can say what you want. He's the truth, man.
Wow, man, that's
truth, bro.
really good, man. I like to
Yeah,
hear
man,
that.
he's the truth.
And we're gonna talk about what else you got coming up, but let's go back into season 2, man. Like, you know,
Okay.
you are on HBO Max, brand new season right now, out right now. We're gonna keep saying it because you need to go watch it, but out right now. So, what can people really get from season 2? What's different about season 2? But without tell us something, without telling us a lot.
All right, stunts have improved. Storylines have changed, and I'll give you a cookie. Here's the other cookie. There's going to be an episode, and I'll go with my episode. I believe it's the episode of Facing Your Fears. I'm going to say it's number 7. It's not coming out yet, but when you see the swim coach, that's me. The swim coach is me in a different costume.
Okay.
That's me doing a different character on the show. So that's my nugget for all of you out there who are loyalists to Southside. When you see the swim coach, that's your boy getting it in.
Okay. And of course, I got some more celebrity guests.
A lot. And I can't spoil. I can't give you those.
I know.
It's quite a bit. And
Yeah.
and you know what? It really worked out this season, man. A lot of those celebrity guests, like, man, dude, oh man, I want to drop their name so bad, but they just, y'all gotta just wait and see because it's coming up, man. And here's the thing about my experience with that is like, they were very gracious and they contributed to the show greatly, and they got us and they got what we're doing. And I'm just really thankful that I had that experience to be able to work with some of these celebrity greats and some of their funniness. It's gonna be special, man.
Yeah, and you know, last season y'all had Lisa Ray, you had Kel Mitchell.
Yes.
And
by the way, they're both from Chicago.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like they're from Chicago, and Lil Rel, Laurie, you know, Lil Rel, you know, he's from Chicago.
Indeed.
So, and it's just to have that whole Chicago atmosphere. I know a lot of those extras are from Chicago as well.
Yep.
And I've seen y'all do y'all's publicity and saying like, hey, you know what, these are all organic Chicago people. But a couple more questions with you right quick.
Okay.
So you know, season 2's done. Have y'all heard anything about season 3? I know this is kind of reaching right now, but do you think we can get a season 3 or what?
I mean, HBO, can we get a season 3? That's a question for them. I can't even, I mean, I feel like the proof's in the pudding. Mm-hmm. And what people don't understand is this is a math game. So if the numbers add up, you do. If the numbers don't, I don't know. I mean, my energy is, yes, there's going to be a season 3. That's how I feel in my heart. That's why we do what we do, but you never know. So I'm going to say yes until otherwise. I don't, it's real hard to say.
I'm gonna claim it because the numbers are already doing, I'm gonna claim it already because that's just, y'all are great, man. I'm sorry, y'all are just that damn good. So people don't, really. What do you have coming up outside of Southside? Do you have anything coming up? Any more gigs?
Well, yeah, I got a couple. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm working on another series that I can't tell you about. I'm writing a movie that I also can't tell you about, but I can tell you about lane44.org, which is my nonprofit organization. And what we do with that is our whole focus of that is to get the youth from the South Side involved in the idea of what it takes to make a film and a feature film. And shout out to Debbie Holstein. She's the director of lane44.org. That's LANE, the number 4.org. And I'll send you the GoFundMe for that after we do that, because we're doing a reboot right now because of COVID kind of shut everything down. So we weren't able to do the things that we want to do at the time. So we're doing a reboot. And I'll send you that link, or I'll have Andrea send you that link when we get done. But outside of some projects that I can't speak on, but there are things to come. Let's just say TV show, movie, game show, all of those things are on the horizon, as well as Lane 44 doing shows or movies with the youth on the South Side of Chicago.
And of course, and people, they want to not only contribute to Lane 44, or we'll have that on the bottom of the list, but how can people find you on social media as well?
Well, I'm on at Simon J. Southside on Instagram. It's the only one I do. I don't do all of the other ones because it's just too much to manage. It's like having extra girlfriends and you really ain't got time for them, and then one of them cheat on you and the other one leave you. That's how it be. So you got one woman, fellas. That's all you really need. One good one. One good one. And that's the same thing with social media. So I'm in a relationship with Instagram. I'm going to keep that true until it changes to something else. But I'm on Instagram at Simon J. Southside.
And of course, like I said, we'll have all his information, including Lane 44 and how you can donate at the bottom of the screen for all the viewers. If you're listening,
I'll send that.
Yeah, and then if you're listening, it'll be in the description of the show
Yes,
as well. So last question before we go. Okay. Just kind of sell the show once again. You've already been doing it already. But why should people watch Southside?
People should watch Southside if they want to laugh, if they want to escape from the everyday humdrum drama that brings them down. This show brings you up. It gives you a different vibration. It gives you a different energy. You can watch it with your family. You can relate to it. You can love, laugh, and eat like the movie, whatever you want to do. So I highly recommend it. One of the things that was a priority for us in the writing room that has transcended through every episode was to bring laughter, bring joy, dedicated to comedy. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what your background is. If you understand comedy and you like to laugh, Southside is for you.
Yep, and he said it. That's exactly right. And make sure you go watch it out right now on HBO Max. Season 1 is also on HBO Max. Make sure you go watch it. Season 2 out right now. Make sure you guys support this show.
Indeed.
All right.
Southside. Southside. Hey, the girl who sings that and the dude who produced that, they're both from Chicago.
Sasha Go Hard.
Sasha Go Hard and Mr. Finale. They both work together. So, yeah. Absolutely.
Wow. So make sure y'all go support this show. Season 2 out right now. So that's the end of our show right now with Sultan Salahuddin. Thank you so much for coming on the show once again, sir.
Indeed. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
All right. So this is the end of our show. Make sure you go to our website, straightuppshowpodcast.com. It's STR8upshowpodcast.com. There's only one rule to our show. You got to be
straight up. On the Straight Up Show, my favorite podcast this week, and many more to come. Watch Straight Up Show, yo. That's where it is.